Back to my series about leadership and just how we can communicate leadership to our peers, our community, our employers, future employers. Where are you leading? And you can, if you're not in a leadership position, I'd like for you to reframe that idea because we all need to have personal leadership to lead ourselves. Hi, my name is Angela Rosoff, and I am with Beautify Face Yoga. I teach individuals how to project confidence and communicate with a purpose in their face and their body. I'm also a yoga teacher, and I really love sharing these foundational principles. And you may be asking, well, who are you to speak about leadership? And I just want to share that for a number of years, I was a leadership, community leadership. Um, I had a lot of community leadership roles in my directive in my children's PTA. And the last position I held was as a president. And I learned a great number of things, especially serving as PTA president for a student body of over 500 students, thinking about the number of parents and family members and guardians that I worked with as well. In a somewhat diverse community, it was a privilege to do so, but I did it during the pandemic. And boy, did I really see the blind spots that I have in leadership. And that's why I want to share this information with you. Not only do I have some knowledge, I'm not a complete expert about this topic, but I do have pretty extensive knowledge about how to lead others and how to create outcomes that are beneficial for everyone. In the PTA leadership role that I had, it was quite a political climate that I was in during the pandemic, and it really strengthened my leadership skills and really pushed me to my limits. And what I found during those difficult times was really returning to the foundations of leadership, which are really begin with your self-awareness. Being aware of yourself and how you communicate with others in all facets. I see someone's here. Hello. Thank you for joining me. I can't really see the chat, so I'm going to continue with my conversation, and I'll look at comments in LinkedIn at the end, and then we can have a Q&A or a discussion if you're still available. So self-awareness is foundational to getting across any kind of communication that you have, anything that you need to share, and also just bringing people in, leaning into other stories. If you're self-aware, you're better able to capture others' attention and also learn what they are seeking, which is a little bit about what today's talk about is about. And I want to just share that we've also covered communication, how we communicate with our voice, as well as our body language, our facial gestures. And the last LinkedIn Live that I did was about critical thinking and just how you show that you are able to think critically about the nature of whatever it is that you're doing, collaborating with. If you're in a job interview, sharing your critical thinking skills is really important to just nail that job interview. So I invite you to look back in my LinkedIn feed. I'm Angela Rosoff. That's my handle. Beautify Face Yoga. You can find me there too. And you'll find these recordings. So it's all leading up to two more videos. And today I'm sharing about inclusion. So this idea of inclusion is the actual act that you take behind the scenes and also in front of the scenes with other people. But this is really about doing the work for yourself before you start collaborating and before you start having just empowered professionalism in your workplace. You want to do the work, and inclusion is truly important for a number of reasons. Our world is dynamic. We live in a global community at this point. No matter where you are in the world, we all have access to the internet. And many of us at a certain age are interacting, collaborating globally. So, inclusion is a topic that you may already be well versed in. And I, again, I'm not an expert in this. I have done work on myself to have more inclusive practices. And it's very important in leadership to employ inclusive practices in your decision making. So, you want to make better decisions by including everyone, including all people. So, leading from behind in this way, you're better able to serve your community. You're better able to up-level your business strategies by reaching out to others. And there are a couple of ways that you can do this. Something that's really empowering is to have multiple perspectives when you are making decisions. So, how do you do that? One way to do it is, like I said, do the work. Doing anti-racist practices in your own time with your own personal investment is going to offer an authenticity to the work that you bring into your leadership. So if you work in a company and you do their anti-racist work, their inclusion workshops, absolutely do them, take them in, and then take it to another level. You want to incorporate multiple perspectives in all of the decisions that you're making, but by doing so, adding your own authentic anti-racist practices is going to just help all that you do flourish in a dynamic way because it's coming from your heart and soul. If you are seeking out books, trainings, maybe you're in Facebook groups to help you just employ these practices on a deeper level, one that maybe you aren't even privy to yet. By learning more about the experience of other individuals, you are becoming just personally developed. So that's something that you can do on your own. This is important to leadership, whatever it is that you're doing, that you do this work, you include it in your budgeting. You can get wonderful books at the public library, things that will attract you to your own experience. So, including multiple perspectives begins with better understanding yourself and your own limitations and removing those obstacles. So, the other way to add multiple perspectives to your decision making would be to invite these perspectives around the work that you're doing. Perhaps you create surveys and you give them to your clients. You could ask your potential employer, what are your policies around anti-racist practices? What are your policies around inclusion and including all cultures in the work that we're doing? Asking these questions also shows that you have critical thinking skills, that you're thinking about what is very important to our culture, our North American culture right now. And you are a thought leader by just asking those questions. So include multiple perspectives. You want to invite a sense of belonging. So if you are doing this work behind the scenes, you will walk into a meeting proactively and include all voices. When we are in a group setting, it's very important for you as the leader to listen. That's probably the best feature that a leader may have, to listen. So by listening to as many voices as is possible in the time allotted, strategically means that you've done this work ahead of time. You are embodying inclusion and making better decisions by including all voices in the conversation. That's empowering to the group. It's empowering in a workplace to invite and include beautiful voices of, every background to influence your leadership in the work that you're doing in communities, in the workplace, and in your own career. The other thing that you want to do the work around, so you want to prepare. This is all about preparing yourself for your leadership activities. You want to be mindful that there are multiple political and social perspectives that may lie in your workplace, in your client base, and also in your community. And we all feel that now. There has been, I don't recall a time in my lifetime where it has felt so divisive between our political parties. But in the end, we're still in a community and we want to engage all parties. So, employing a diplomatic approach in how you communicate the outcomes that you're seeking, how you invite these voices in a container to be able to be recognized and heard. It's good to understand all sides that are coming to the table. So you want to do this diplomacy work behind the scenes to be able to better articulate yourself in a setting that may be highly charged, or in a setting where you will be the facilitator to calm everyone's energy, because politics, religion, social issues can be very passionate feelings, and we want to be able to do the work behind the scenes, to discover your own inner diplomat, and use those skills, develop those skills to facilitate group conversations and inclusion of all voices in your leadership work. That's a really powerful one. And then you want to consider, when you're using inclusion to make better decisions, you want to include any power differentials. So I want to give you an example. I like telling stories. So one example, when I was the PTA president and practicing as a president during the time of the pandemic, we had a lot of excitement around renaming the schools. Our school was Diane Feinstein Elementary School, and it was on the list for renaming for a number of reasons. In this moment, my children had been in the school for a long time. I had seen Senator Feinstein serve our community in a dynamic way with generous gifts and attention and just visits, which were so lovely. But I really had to do some work around why they were being considered for renaming in a diplomatic way, while also shelving my admiration for Senator Feinstein and all that she is and all of the lovely betterment that she's done for our city of San Francisco. And all politics aside, I do admire her feminine leadership, the strength in her leadership, and I also understand that she has made choices that have not always benefited all San Franciscans. She's made some mistakes. So, in that moment of leadership, I was getting so many communications from all different community members. People were highly charged to preserve the name. People were disappointed that the name could not be something that was more natural to our environment, perhaps celebrating the Ohlone people. And it was a number of different ideas. So it just came to me that this was going to be a very difficult conversation. And in the highly charged environment of serving the students during a pandemic, I made the decision that we would remove the PTA from facilitating any discussion around the renaming. It needed to be outsourced. As a leader, I had too much interest in the name itself and needed to remove the PTA and myself from that decision. So, whatever you think is all good. But in the end, I feel strongly that I made the right decision. I wasn't sure at the time. The reason I feel like I made the right decision is because of the power differential. There was a power issue around the PTA taking one side or the other that would have influenced people in our community, and it may not have been equal. It may not have been representative of all the individuals, and I wanted to include others that had a different experience. So to employ inclusion in your leadership, you really want to do the work behind the scenes. You want to do anti-racist practices. You want to do this in your own time and be authentic about it. Just personally develop yourself. You want to create conditions of a sense of belonging to everyone that you're working with, even if it's a potential employer. Really carving out a moment to connect with your interviewer in a way that creates belonging is going to help you in the long run. Definitely worth the time to do that. You want to work across political and social boundaries. You want to definitely invite and bridge a diplomatic gap to help your community be stable in the long run, and also to lead them in a way that is representative of what most people want, while also including all voices. It's kind of difficult to do, but it's worth it. The other thing that you want to do is consider the power differences. I gave you an example of one example. I want to give you one more, and I'm going to show you some body and face yoga things that you can do to include others, and then we'll wrap it up. So, considering power differences also relates to the individual. So, if you have a conversation with a group of people, and we have people from all different backgrounds, and we're hearing voices who feel comfortable speaking in groups, that's special and that is amazing. But sometimes we need to understand that that can also be representative of people who have privilege, that they feel comfortable discussing things publicly. They feel comfortable sharing their thoughts with everyone to hear because they have been socialized to experience the world that way. And this is why it's so important to do this work authentically, because not everyone understands this about themselves. They don't have this self-awareness around it. So as a leader, you want to consider these power differences and understand that it's so important to draw in the voices of others who are not socialized and may require an invitation to speak. This is incredibly important in all kinds of cultural settings, and just understanding this in your own authentic way by doing the work behind the scenes is going to not only allow you to flourish as a leader in the times that we are in now, but it will also help you stand out as a respectable individual. And at the end of the day, I think any leader would hope to maintain their respect. And I think that's really powerful. So that's my sharing with you. I want to show you a couple of face yoga and body awarenesses that you can employ to invite inclusion in your conversations. So, one of the best things that you can do, and it's very simple, is to just open your heart. I talked a lot about authenticity throughout this discussion, but when we open our heart, we literally soften the heart biologically. We relieve stress from the heart. So opening the heart in a community discussion allows you to receive the energy of the room better. You're better able to assess the situation that you're in because we don't always know what we're supposed to do in a community dialogue. By opening your heart, you can share through body language that you are an open person and you're taking it all in. It'll allow you to have a pause for you to capture your thoughts, to really just bring yourself to the space to articulate what needs to be said. Opening the heart allows that. It allows this space and time between you and the group. The other thing that you can do is to drop your shoulders. That also relays a sense of confidence along with being open. Another thing you can do to include others is to smile. And I've talked about smiles in my other videos, but I want to invite you to explore your smile. And the best smile that you can do that relays lightness is to lift the smile from these muscles that actually lift all along the upper cheek. So if you're smiling like this, your smile is tense and it relays a communication point of tenseness, stress, anxiety. Hi. Oh, I like your idea. Yeah. You're not communicating what you're saying. So be authentic and try to smile with an uplifted gaze. This is going to soften any sort of political and social difference with an air of allowance, an air of confidence. So that's another thing. The last thing I want to share, body language, face language, that was your little face yoga to lift here, is to look people in the eye. Oftentimes, when we have a political discussion, when others are speaking their personal truth that doesn't match ours, we may avert our eyes just to help ourselves feel better. But be strong in your leadership and look them in the eye. It may be such that you will better understand their story, their place of difference, and why it is so. And when you're able to do that, you may not agree with them, but sometimes you can just empathize with them and have compassion about their own story because it may not be wonderful in and of itself. They may have their own sufferings. So I've gone over a little bit. I just want to thank you for watching these lessons. I've had a lot of really great feedback about them, and I thank you for that. And I just want to share that I actually have a new contract job from these live LinkedIn. So if you are in the market looking for work, you might want to consider sharing yourself on social media. You just never know who might see you and want to work with you. So hope you're doing great, and I will post the next 2 leadership workshops tomorrow, and you can come and visit those live next time. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.